Hi there, this is Ashley back with Lumefinity, and I'm here today to show you how to make the final dwarf in the dwarf series. This is Happy, and I wanted to go ahead and get the tutorial out for you, so I did not have time to really sit down and count the bands. So just to let you know what I'm using so you can make sure that you at least have those colors. I'm using the Rainbow Loom Neon Orange for his hat and his sleeves. I'm using skin tone colors for the face and hands. You'll need some white for his beard. You'll need about 6 black bands for his belt and 1 gold. If you don't have gold, you could always use yellow. I'm using the Rainbow Loom Caramel for his shoes and his vest, and the Ocean Blue for his pants. If you don't have the caramel, you could always use any variation of a brown that you have for his vest. And if you don't have the Ocean Blue, you could use navy blue or some other type of blue for his pants. I'm also using 2 white pony beads for the eyes. So if you want to grab your supplies, we can go ahead and get started. The first part that I'm going to show you how to make is his arm. I've already made one, so I will show you how to make a second one, and then we'll continue on. You'll just have to pause the video to make your second one. And we're going to start on the top of the loom on the first peg on the left with 2 neon orange bands, and you're going to come down 3 times. We're then going to take one of our brown on the hook and create 3 loops, taking 2 neon orange, and I'm going to feed my brown onto those neon orange. Just like that, and we're going to place that on the 4th to 5th peg. We're then coming down one more time with 2 neon orange. And we're then going to create the hands. You'll need some skin tone for that. And I'm going to take a single skin tone on my hook, and I'm going to create 4 loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat, and then I'm going to take a single skin tone and I'm going to double it, and I'm going to pull that onto the other band and reclaim the other side. And if you've made the other dwarves, it's the same steps that we've done before. Taking another single, double it, and feed that into place. And I'm going to repeat the process. So taking a single, creating my 4 loops, taking another single, oh, my band broke, doubling it, taking another single and double. I'm going to push that down on my hook, taking another single, creating 4 more loops, taking a single and double, and this one I'm only going to do once since it's supposed to simulate the thumb. And I'm then taking another single, I'm going to double it, and I'm going to feed all of these onto that single double band and reclaim the other side. And I'm then going to use this as my capping band by placing it here at the end of the arm. Once that's in place, we can go ahead and begin looping. So I'm going to go in through the hand, grabbing those bottom 2 orange and bringing them forward, and then just looping straight up. And then grab a holding hook. I'm going to remove it and set it aside for later. So go ahead and pause the video, make a second hand, and we can continue on. Now that we've made the arms, we're going to go ahead and continue on, and we're going to go ahead and lay out the body. And we're going to do the body before the head separately. So we're going to start here, and I will be using double bands unless I specify otherwise. So you're starting from the center first peg going to the center second peg. You're going to use 3 skin tone colored bands and you're going to come down once. I'm then going to switch over to my brown. So taking 2 brown bands from that center second, I'm coming out at an angle to the left second. I want to repeat that going to the right. I'm then going to come down the left-hand side 3 times with 2 of my brown bands. So that's 1, 2. Actually, you want to stop on the second one. I'm going to do that again on the other side, coming down twice. And before I place my third set of brown bands, I'm going to grab 2 of my black bands and I'm going to place them over that 4th peg. So the 4th peg down, just place it right over the peg and sit it there. Then I'm going to come down one more time on the left with my 2 brown and one more time on the right. I then want to come down the center twice with 2 brown bands. I'm then going to switch over to my blue and I'm coming down the left hand side of the loom 2 times with 2 ocean blue bands. And I'm going to repeat that on the right side as well. And I'm then going to bring it into the center peg to close off the bottom of the body with 2 of the blue bands. I then want to go from this center peg up here where we finished off the brown, and I'm coming straight down the center with 2 blue bands. And I'm going to go ahead and cap off this peg here so that I don't forget. And I'm just going to do that creating 3 loops with a single band. So 1, 2, and 3. Now we need to go back up here. We're going to the 4th center peg, 1, 2, 3, 4, with 2 of our brown bands. We want to create a long angle. So you're going from the 4th center peg and you're going to hook that to the left 5th peg, creating a long brown angle right here. And I'm going to do that going on the other side as well. So center 4th to right 5th. And now we're going to go down and move into the legs. So using our ocean blue, coming off this peg here at the end of the body, 7th peg from the top, I'm coming down twice with 3 ocean blue bands. And then I'm going to come down one more time with 2 ocean blue bands. And I want to repeat that on the right side as well. So on the 7th peg on the right, coming down twice with 3 bands. And one more time coming down with 2 bands. I'm then going to switch back over to my caramel brown, the next peg on the left. So we're now working with the 4th peg from the bottom, taking a single caramel brown. I'm going to double it and come down once. Then I'm coming down from the 3rd peg from the bottom to the 2nd peg with 3 caramel colored bands. And I'm going to finish off the very bottom from this peg to the last one with 4 of the caramel colored bands. And I'm going to cap the bottom off here, creating 3 loops. So 1, 2, 3. And I want to repeat that process on this side. So again, from the 4th peg from the bottom on the right, taking a single, I'm going to double it, coming down once, taking 3 caramel bands, and coming in finishing off that bottom side with 4 caramel colored bands. And I'm going to cap this off again, creating 3 loops. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to go back up. We're going to go ahead and attach our arms to the second peg from the top on each side. Your arms have patches on their elbows, so remember that when you place the arm, you want to make sure that the patches are facing down. So the side that's facing up, you will not see those patches. If you place them the other way, then his arms would be on backwards. So I'm just going to place one on each side. And before we place our holding bands, we also want to go ahead and create the side part portions of his body because Happy is a little bit of a fatter dwarf than the others. And we'll be doing that with our hook. So you're going to take a single ocean blue band on your hook and create 3 loops. So you should have 3 loops on the hook. I'm then taking 2 of the ocean blue bands and I'm going to feed that onto the other band and reclaim the other side. I'm going to do this again with 2 more ocean blue bands. Then I'm going to switch over to the caramel colored bands and I'm going to feed them on 3 times total. So this is 1, 2, and 3. So you're essentially making just a little chain. I am then going to take this here and I'm going to hook it to the 3rd peg on the right from the top, 3rd peg down. We're just going to go ahead and hook that onto that peg. I'm then going to put my hook through this capping band that we had created, the 3 loops, and I'm going to pull that down to the base of the leg. So this is the 7th peg from the top, and I'm just going to go ahead and flip my loom around so that I can pull it down there. And you're just going to hook that capping band down here on that peg. Now what you're going to want to do here is we need a way to pull it into the body. So if you just pull out slightly and you want to grab one of the bands on the inside, any band, just as long as it's not from the top. I'm just going to grab a single portion of that band and I'm pulling up and over the peg. So I'm going to do one here for the brown. I'm going to do one on this next one as well for the brown. I'm then going to skip this blue one and leave it where it is, and going down here to the next blue portion of the chain, I'm going to grab from underneath a single blue and pull it up over this peg. So you don't want to pull the whole chain, just a single piece of the chain and then get stuck on everything. And essentially just to hold his side in place. We're going to repeat this same process over here. So again, I'm going to take a single blue and create 3 loops on my hook, taking 2 blue and feeding that in place, 2 more blue, and then I'm going to chain 3 sets of the brown. That's 1, that's 2, and 3. I am then going to place this one on the 3rd peg down on the left. And again, I need to flip my loom around. I am going to put my hook through that capping band and I'm going to pull it down to that 7th peg at the base of the leg, or the top of the leg. And flipping it back around, I'm going to go in from the inside, just grabbing a single band underneath and pulling it over the hook. I'm doing the same thing for the next brown. I'm going to skip the next blue one. I'm getting hooked on everything today. grabbing a single blue from over here and pulling it over the peg. And now we're going to go ahead and place some of our crossover bands. So starting at the top, you have your arms here. We're not putting anything on these pegs. Going down to the third peg down with a single caramel, I'm just creating a single triangle. I'm going to do that again for the next triangle, single. Again down here, I'll be using brown again because the brown is on the outside of the body at this point. Then I'm going to switch over to the ocean blue with a single for the next peg, creating another triangle, and then creating one more at the base of the body. Now that all of this is in place, we can go ahead and begin our looping process. If you would like, just so that you don't forget, we can go ahead and create the first portion of the belt, although we won't be attaching that yet. On your hook, you're just going to take your single gold or yellow band and you're going to create 4 loops, just like that. I'm then taking 2 black bands and feeding those onto the gold onto the black. I am then just going to sit this aside so when we get up towards the top, we can attach it to the body. Now before I start looping up the feet, I do want to go through and we're going to loop up the first 3 bands here in the center. So I'm going to go through that capping band, grabbing the first 2 and bringing them forward. I'm then going to go back in, grabbing my next 2, they go to the left, and my next 2 are going to the right. I'm now going to go down to the feet, go in, make sure you're grabbing all 4 of your bands and hold your capping band down to prevent it from slipping off of the peg. And I'm just going to go ahead and loop up my right side all the way to the top of the leg. I'm going to go back down on the left and repeat the process, grabbing all 4 bands. And then just looping to the top of the leg. Now moving back up here, the first thing I'm going to do is I want to loop up these 3 sets of blue bands. I'm going to stop here on the 4th peg from the top. I'm then going down to the right. I'm going to go through where I stopped from the leg, and I want to make sure I'm only grabbing these bottom 2 blue bands. So I'm going to go through all of the bands, grabbing only the bottom 2, and there is usually a lot of tension in this area because of the amount of bands. So I'm going to pull gently, and then we'll just go in and release the tension. Once I get to bringing up the second blue, I then have brown bands I need to work with, and the first 2 should be going over to the center. Now remember, we also have a band in here that we pulled over from the side piece, so you want to make sure you're not grabbing that either. So when you go in, you want to push back on your holding band, and the next band will probably be this band. So you're going through those first 2 small bands. If you have to, just pull back on this side piece to see what you're doing. And then I'm grabbing only the 2 bands that are going to the center and bringing those up at an angle. Oh, you guys are gonna kill me when I make you remove something. We forgot to pull this over the peg. Well, let me rephrase that. I forgot to pull it over the peg or show you how to. And instead of re-recording this entire thing, I'm going to show you how to remove it. Okay, sorry guys. The first holding band, just go ahead and remove that for now, set it aside. And we want to also, this holding band here, so we're going to work with one side at a time so we don't have to remove this entire section. Just pop this holding band off, laying it right there so you know which one it is. I am then going to pull off my attachment from this top peg. and I want to take it off of this peg as well. I'm then pulling the black band over the peg. It should be resting on that band. I am so sorry I forgot to tell you to do that. I'm going to replace my attachment, and I'm just going to pull one band back over, and I'm going to replace the crossover band. Just like that. And now I'm going to repeat the same process over here. So remove the crossover band, remove the attachment. I'm going to pull this over and then reattach that, replace the bottom. And I'm going to pull the crossover band back, and then we'll replace this crossover band. I really hope I didn't just confuse you guys. And if it did get too confusing, then I'm sure you guys will let me know, and I'll just have to re-record him. But hopefully that wasn't too horrible. Okay, so now we're going to go back in where we left off, which is the 5th peg down on the right. I want to make sure I go through all the bands now. I'm only grabbing these bottom 2 brown. Now, when I do, I'm wanting to hook this black band with it. So the best way I found to do this is you want to take your hook through the top, not through the bottom, or it'll twist. So I'm going to go through the top and grab my black band on my hook. And I'm going to leave that there just like we would if we were attaching without it being attached to anything else. And I'm going to go back through this brown, grabbing my bottom 2 brown bands, and I'm going to feed that in place. Now we also need to attach the first part of the belt. So instead of bringing the band and hooking it above, I'm going to just put it back on the peg I just took it off of and just rest it on the top. You then want to grab the belt portion we created. I'm going to stick one end through my hook. I'm going to re-grab those 2 brown bands. And I'm just going to pull that onto the band, and now I'm going to go ahead and hook it above. And at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and loop all the way up to the shoulder on the right side. And stopping at the bottom of the neck. I then want to repeat that process without the hole removing that we did before, because now we've already fixed that. And I'm going to go down here on the left. I want to make sure I go through all the bands, grabbing only these bottom 2 bands that you see here. And this is again where you have a lot of tension, so you want to pull gently and then release that tension. Now I'm going to be looping the brown band that this black is attached to, so I want to, again, I'm going to go through the top and grab that side. Then I'm going to go through, oh, before we do that, we got to loop up our center. So first go in and grab your first 2 brown, and remember this is where the side attachment is as well. So if you need to, just pull back some, that way you know where the band is you're trying to reach. And this is going to require me turning my loom. This dwarf took me a while to really get to the point that I liked him. So I do apologize for making you guys wait so long, because I know a lot of you have been asking for the last dwarf. But I just wanted to make him right. And the belt was what was causing me the most problem, because he's a fatter dwarf. He would end up with this really tight belt. So I was trying to figure out the best way to work his belt. So yeah, that's why he took a little longer. Okay, now we're going to go, we got the middle one pulled up. Now we're going to go through the top, grabbing the black, go through the peg, grabbing the bottom 2 brown, and I'm going to pull that black one over I'm going to replace this on the peg that I just took it off of. Now I want to go in through the top of the belt, because again, if I go underneath, it's going to twist. So I'm just going to go through the top of the belt. And I'm going to grab those same 2 brown bands that I just put on the peg. And I'm going to feed the other side of the belt onto that. And now I can go ahead and hook that one. And now I'm going to go ahead and just loop up the remainder of the left side of the body. And I promise that was probably the most confusing part of this character. And now I'm going to finish off the center, so I'm going to go through, grabbing those browns, then going through, making sure to grab all 3 of my skin tone colored bands, and bringing it up. And once I've done that, his body is ready to come off the loom. So I'm going to grab my hook and go ahead and remove him. Grab a holding hook and pull him off. And then you can just straighten out the gold part of his belt. And then if any of the sides of the belt are sticking up a little high, just pull them down so they line up with the side pieces over here of his belt. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to his face and his hat. And we're going to start at the top of the loom in the center, and I'll be using double bands unless I specify otherwise. So to start, we are going to want to create his beard, and this will be single white bands, and you're going to come from the left first peg down twice with single white bands. I'm then going from the right down twice, and then coming into the center from the 3rd right peg to the center 4th, and the 3rd left to the center 4th. I'm then skipping the 1st peg and coming down from the 2nd to 3rd center peg, and again from the 3rd to 4th. And I'm going to cap off here, creating 3 loops. So 1, 2, 3. And then I want to place some crossover bands. I'm going to take a single white band, and I want to go from the 2nd peg to the 2nd peg straight across, but I'm going to take my hook, grabbing both bands and pulling them down almost like a V over the 3rd peg. Taking another single white, I'm going from the 3rd to the 3rd and creating my standard triangle. And once we've done that, we can begin looping. So you're just going to go in through your capping band, grabbing the 1st band and bringing that forward, and just loop straight up. Go back through the capping band, grabbing the next one, bringing it over to the left, and then again to the right. And I'm going to grab a hook and just grab these top 3 sets of bands, and I'm going to set that aside for later. Now we're going to start in the center peg with 2 of the neon orange bands, and I'm coming down once from the 1st to 2nd center peg. I am then coming out at an angle, and it's going to be a long angle. So you want to go from the center 2nd out to the left 3rd pin, so it comes out at a long angle. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm then going to come down the left side of the loom with 2 neon orange bands 3 times. So 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to repeat that on the right. 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to go from the center second and come straight down from second to third, third to fourth, fourth to fifth, and fifth to sixth. And we're going to close off the hat by going from the 6th center peg to the 6th left peg, so at an upwards angle. And I want to do the same thing on the other side. 6th center to right 6th. And I'm going to switch over to my skin tone bands. So from that 6th peg on the left, I'm going to come down 2 times with skin tone bands, double skin tone bands. And I want to repeat that on the right. And I'm going to come down the center with 2 skin tone bands 3 times from that 6th center peg. So 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to close off the bottom of the chin using 2 skin tone bands coming from the angle. And we want to make sure that we're placing these 2 bands last because we're going to be looping these 2 without looping the center so we can attach the beard. We also need to attach his face attachments right here, and we'll do those with the hook. So you're going to take a single skin tone band on your hook and create 3 loops. I am then taking 2 skin tone bands and feeding those in place. And I'm going to do that one more time with 2 more. I am going to hook this here to this very last skin tone band peg. So the 8th peg from the top, I'm going to attach to that. I'm then going to take my hook through the capping band and just pull that up to that 7th peg right above it. And I'm going to repeat that for the other side. So taking a single, creating 3 loops, feeding on 2 skin tone bands, and doing 2 more. I'm going to attach this one on the left hand side. And I'm going to go ahead and place some crossover bands on the face. So taking a single skin tone band, I am going to place 1 here on this bottom, on the 8th peg across in a triangle. And I'm going to do this again right above it. And now I can place my eyes and my nose. So for the eyes, I'm just going to grab my 2 white beads and I'm going to feed the bands through the beads. And I'm going to place the eyes on these 2 pegs here. The 6th peg from the top, straight across, so it's right at the base of the hat. I am then going to pull, going in between the eyes, so I've got 1 push on each side, in between the band, and grabbing one of the part of the band and bringing it down over that peg, center peg. To create the nose, I'm taking a single skin tone band on my hook, creating 4 loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Taking another single skin tone, I'm going to double it, and I want to feed all of these bands on. taking another single, and I'm going to pull that in place, pull the nose onto this band. This will go straight across on the 7th peg down, just straight across the center. Now we can go ahead and place some of our crossover bands in the hat. So we're going to start right where the eyes are, right here, and we're going up 1. So it's the 5th peg from the bottom, and I'm going to take a single orange and just create a single triangle. For the next one up, I'm doing a single half double. So you'll make a single triangle. I am then going to twist around that left peg and only bring it back to the center, so it's halfway. And then for the next one up, I'm going to do a single double, just like that. Moving back down, I'm going to go ahead and grab my body and make sure that he's facing the right way, so his belt is facing up. He will be our capping band down here at the chin. So we're going to go ahead and put that in place. And I'm just going to kind of stuff him down in there. And before we can attach the beard, we do need to loop up some of him. So we're going to go in through his neck, and I just want to grab the first 2 sets of bands. So I'm pulling this one here over on itself and this one here. Don't pull your center. If by chance you did the layout and the center band is on top, you will have to pull it over, bring out your other 2, and put it back in place because of the beard. So I'm going to go in, grabbing my first 2. They go to the left, and my next 2 are going to the right, and I'm going to stop there. I'm going to go ahead and grab my beard. Now, if you recall, at the top of the beard, we had 3 sets of 2 bands, and you're essentially placing 2 on the right, 2 on the center peg, and 2 on the left. And there's a lot of bands now on these outside pegs right here, so just be careful that they don't pop off until we get them at least looped up 1. Okay, just like I did. See, exactly like that. Let me fix that. Okay. Now, to make sure that we're not losing the bands, I'm going to go through this peg now, grabbing those last 2 bottom skin tone bands, and I'm going to go straight up. I'm going to go in here to the right, and you're going through all the bands on the right, grabbing only the bottom 2 skin tone bands, and I'm going to bring those up. And I'm going to do the same thing on the left. That way I don't lose his beard anymore. Okay, now I want to go ahead and loop up the center just to the bottom part here of the hat. So I'm going to go back in here, and you want to make sure when you hook this to bring the nose through the center of the bands. Make sure when you hook the next one, you're actually going inside the eye band and stopping there. Going back over here to the right, I'm going to grab my 2 skin tone bands and bring those up, and I'm going to do the same thing on the left. Now going in on the right, I'm grabbing my first 2 neon orange and bringing those to the center. And I'm then going to go back in and just loop straight up to the second center peg here. And I'm going to repeat this process over here on the left. So grabbing the first 2 over to the center, and then looping up the left. And now just go ahead and loop straight up the center, and I want to make sure I'm going through all of these bands, grabbing only the bottom 2 neon orange, so I don't drop any bands down there. Now that we're at the top, we do not need to actually place a slip knot because this is going to act as the slip knot. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab these bottom two bands and pull them over just like that. And you can go ahead and pull this off and tighten it up. And now I'm going to remove him from the loom. Okay, now that he's off the loom, we're just going to go ahead and straighten out his body some, push his eyes and pull his beard down. If you need to adjust his nose, you can do so. As far as the top two bands, all I did here was flip him over, go in through the back of the hat, grabbing those two bands and pulling them down and then just hiding them back in there. And then you'll want to grab a Sharpie and make sure to push forward on the eye and back on the nose. Otherwise, because I've done this before, you start drawing on the actual bands. So you just want to push back. Like that. And that is how you create Happy Dwarf, the final dwarf in the 7 Dwarf series. I'm sorry to make you guys wait so long, but again, like I said, I just wanted to make sure he was right, at least to what I wanted him to look like. So I do hope you like him. Don't forget to subscribe for updates on my future tutorials, and have a great day, guys.